All right, the national anthem has sounded, and you're bang on time for Morning Prime here on KTN News. And I'm glad that you've chosen KTN News to inform you today, of course, on this pivotal day, as far as the Gen Zs and the resumption to be on the streets today is concerned. All right, everyone is taking cognizance of that. They have declared that they will be blocking the roads that are leading to JKIA, and of course that is Mombasa Road going all the way to Mlolongo as well. The JKIA, if you're traveling this morning, you should take cognizance of that as well. We will be giving you a lot of information regarding that today as well. Our reporters will be on the ground to give you a blow-by-blow cover of what will be happening today. And this is in light of what also the president has given us stern warning that these demonstrations should end, because we don't know what is the ultimate end from the Gen Zs. So it seems that we are in a morass with any prime solution is concerned as far as demonstrations is concerned. But they continue with their rallying call that Ruto must go. That has been, of course, the cry of the Gen Zs who are questioning for a governance change or a raft of issues regarding also the stamping of corruption and also the good governance. We have also the latest regarding the CSs that has also been a bone of contention with the recent appointment as well. Those are some of the issues we shall be looking at this morning here on Siasa Fiesta. We'll be joined momentarily by Okongo Mogeni, who's a senator of Nyamira. We'll be joined as well by Tabitha Mutinda, who's a nominated senator. We'll be joined as well by Dan Mazo. Dan Mazo is a senator of Makueni, and we'll be joined as well by Dr. Nikal, who is a member of parliament for Seme. Also today is the resumption of parliament, and we'll be doggedly following that as well. They have the intra-full discussions rotating around the finance bill that has been contentious, and everyone was waiting eagerly to see if there will be resumption of parliament to make sure that parliamentarians, they debate on the finance bill. We'll be waiting to see how that really pans out as well, as we give you more information on that regard as well. You know what to do? You can hit us on X at, of course, at KTN News is our X handle, and you can doggedly follow me as well at Balanea, which is my Twitter handle as well. Right, for now, we just want to see what is fresh off the press this morning, just to give an indication of what we have in the dailies and what they're focusing on today, highlighting especially what is on the ground as far as the protest is concerned. Let's just begin with the Standard. And this is what you're waking up to on the front page of the Standard today. Moment of truth, it says. That is the Standard. President William Ruto has said he has had enough of the protest. But the youth are relentless. He will have to listen to what they have to say. Today, Nairobi is expected to be hard hit by the demonstrations, with the youth planning to barricade major roads and occupying JKIA. The heat is already being felt in the NGO world, with government cracking down on perceived funders of the dissent. You have a story on page 6, 8 and 9 of the publication today. Here are the hotspots, just to give you an indication of what they are highlighting here. Protest hotspots in Nairobi, Mlolongo, that is Nairobi Expressway, that will be affected. Parliament buildings, Nyayo Stadium, Uhuru Park, JKIA entrances and terminals, City Cabanas, Outer Ring Road, North Airport Road. Once again, Mlolongo, Nairobi Expressway, we have Parliament buildings, Nyayo Stadium, Uhuru Park, JKIA entrances and terminals, City Cabanas, Outer Ring Road, North Airport Road. Those are the places that will be affected. 15, that is the number of counties that are set to experience turbulence from the political protest today, and we shall give you more information in that regard as well. And due to heightened security checks and protocols at JKIA, passengers are advised to arrive at the airport early to avoid any potential delays in catching their flights. Kindly contact your respective airline for the latest flight information. This is an advisory from the Kenya Airports Authority. So, due to the heightened security checks and protocols at JKIA, passengers are advised to arrive at the airport early enough to avoid any potential delays in catching their flights. Kindly contact your respective airlines or airline for the latest flight information. That is from the Kenya Airports Authority, so be advised that you be early. And Biden, what next for the Democrats? That's a probing question right now. President Joe Biden's pullout from the U.S. election has got the world speculating on direction the poll and party will take. You have the story on page 35 of the publication today. Stars that will shine at Paris Olympics. More than 10,000 sportsmen and women will compete in 45 events over 19 days. But very few will have a bite at the medal. Find out who stands a chance of excelling. You have a story on page 46 and 47 of the publication today. That is the Standard. The Daily Nation app is up next. Crisis as Treasury fails to release 30 billion shillings county cash. That is what is headlining the front page of the Daily Nation today. And the flagger is reading devolution. A total of 35 counties have not received more than 500 million shillings each. The unremitted amount is accumulation of lengthy delays in scheduled disbursements for the 2023-2024 fiscal year, despite the Council of Governors' sustained complaints that holds up hampering services and contravene a legal requirement to give counties equitable share of revenues by 15th of every month. You have a story on page 4 of the publication today. And pressure mounts on Ruto over new cabinet. President William Ruto is facing a tough balancing act in coming up with a new cabinet amid pressure from the youth, the church and civil society pushing for new faces. He's walking a tightrope in trying to navigate between sweeping reforms pushed by the youth and appeasing his support base with eyes on his re-election bid. You have a story on page 6 of the Daily Nation today. On the sidebar, shilling in fresh slump due to political tensions. The Kenyan shilling has slumped to an 8-week low against the US dollar as the market continues to take in the effects of the anti-government protests which have affected trade and tourism. You have a story on page 23 of the Daily Nation today. There is a blowback. The shilling is feeling the heat right now as far as the demonstrations are concerned. Kamala keeps eye on the prize in White House race. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris was moving swiftly on Monday to try to lock up the Democratic presidential nomination a day after President Joe Biden abandoned his re-election bid. You have a story on page 22 of the Daily Nation today. IBC reconstitution, electoral body or bodies selection panel will be in place next week. This is an assurance from the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, agony over missing kin. Tens of people have gone missing since the start of protest last month. You have a story on page 2 and 3 of the publication this morning. Styles up next. Kenya Airways risks ban in European Union over safety. No spare parts. Huge cost of improvement, a hindrance, but nothing compared to lost business. All aircraft accidents, near misses, lack of spare parts, and substandard training. All this is some of the factors that are actually making Kenya Airways stand at the risk of being banned by the EU over safety concerns. Travel Kenya Airways, that is the Kenya Airways plane, has since parked at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport near Nairobi on March 6th to 29th. This is the final picture. Also, Kenyans received the first TB vaccine in 100 years. The first group of Kenyans has received what is likely to be the first TB vaccine in about 100 years. The vaccination took place on July the 12th in Kisumu, Kilifi, Machakos, and Nairobi. However, it is still under trial and may not be widely available to the public before 2030. It is administered as 2 intramuscular injections given a month apart. You have a story on page 15 of the publication today. Eyes on Parliament as MPs return to full entry. For many MPs, let me try and zoom in so that we can read together. It says, for many MPs, the June 25th invasion remains an indelible mark of the journey in politics. The difference being what lessons each of them drew from it. Some are returning to premises for the first time since their unceremonious exit on the horrific afternoon when the premises was overrun by protesters and part of it set on fire. And we've had, of course, the Speaker saying, according to insurance, this will cost the taxpayer 96 million shillings to renovate the Parliament the affected areas in Parliament to restore it back to order. Village where violent thugs come to main not steal. Right, that is the story on page 7 of the publication today. You can follow it. The story there where thieves, they don't come to steal or even injure anyone, but they're saying to maim, actually. Looking at the story is dramatically different from what they've written. But you can follow the story inside the Star this morning. People Daily, inside Ruto plan to crush demos. That is what we use on the front page of the People Daily today. Security, President resort to new tactics to confront young people emboldened by court order barring police from using bullets. You have a story on page 4 of the publication today. Democrats figure next move with Kamala Harris. That is on page 19. After the pullout of President Joe Biden, now they want to find what is the way forward. Wetangula, all cabinet nominees will be vetted as a test for Parliament as it interviews recycled former CSs amidst protest by Gen Z against their return. That story on page 5. And you can follow the story also of the main story. That is the main headlining story there on page 4. We have the president saying, as a government, we will deal firmly with those causing violence in the country. That is the People Daily. Kutaendaje? That is a probing question on the front page of Taifa Leo. Vijana wa hapa kupuuza vitisho vya serikali, huku Ruto akiahidi kuwakomesha waandamanaji. Wanasema wao hawana ukabila, miegemeo ya vyama au sura. Imempa kila mtu nafasi ya kusema alichotaka kusema, wala hatuwezi kuendelea hivi. Lazima tulinde nchi yetu. This is what the president has said. And 50, that is the figure there. Jumuiya ya Wakenya waliouawa kwenye maandamano. And you can follow the story inside the publication today. Eliud Owalo arudishwe. Viongozi wanachama wa UDA Nyanza watishia kuhama asiporudishwa kazini. That is a threat from them as well. That is on page 4. Kamala pazuri kurithi kiti cha Biden. That is on page 8 of Taifa Leo as well. IBC taanza kubuniwa juma lijalo. Another story there. Utalipa nauli ya 12,000 katika SGR. That is a story to want to follow on page 2 of Taifa Leo. Ruto retirement age order to cost taxpayers to 24 billion shillings. That is what is on the front page of the Business Daily this morning. Finance Ministry seeks MPs nod to raise pensions bill. Additional funds earmarked for retiring public officers. Taxpayers will spend an additional 23.78 billion shillings to pay off public servants who are retiring after attaining the age of 60. In line with the presidential directive aimed at curtailing growth in the wage bill, budget document tabled in National Assembly show that the Treasury is seeking approval from lawmakers to increase the pension bill to 223.15 billion shillings this financial year, ending June 2025, that is, up from an initial estimate of 199.37 billion shillings. And we have distribution of staff by service sector in terms of age also listed here. We have state corporations and sagas, 56 and 60 years. We have 10,889 above 60. They stand at 1,081. We have MDAs, 10,407. That is who are between 56 and 60 years, and 775 who are above 60 years. Public universities, 3,362 between 56 and 60, and above 60, 2,575. We have TVETs, 807, and that is 56 and 60 years. And we have 91 above 60 years. Constitutional commissions and independent officers, 348 are between 56 and 60 years. And we have 23 who are actually above 60 years. Statutory commissions and authorities, we have 56 to 60 years. They stand at 66, and 4 who are above 60 years. This is, of course, the Public Service Commission's list. And you can follow the story inside the Business Daily on page 2. Kenyans stash extra 3 billion shillings in Switzerland tax heaven. Right. It says here that Kenyan citizens and firms increased their assets held in Switzerland by 3 billion shillings in 2022 when they withdrew a substantial part of the portfolios in other tax havens. The assets in Switzerland grew to 9.8 billion shillings in the review period from 6.82 billion shillings in 2021, according to the latest data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. And you can follow the rest of the details on page 2 of the Business Daily. Treasury fails to disburse 30 billion shillings in counties, and that is in counties cash. And you can read the rest of the details on page 4. Stanchart earns 1.3 billion shillings from green projects financing, and unit trusts pile into bank deposits on high rates. That is on page 4 of the Business Daily this morning. Let's cross over to Uganda. And today is a D-Day as well in Uganda as far as their Occupy Parliament hashtag is concerned. The Gen Zs will be out in the street. It's D-Day here, they say. Looking at the flagger, the president has warned the police have put down their feet, and the youth have said they are on motion and will make good their call to march to Parliament in demonstration against corruption that is stinking to the high heavens. And they now want heads to roll. But who will blink first? That is the story. And you have a story on page 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, 13, and 14 of the Daily Monitor in Uganda. And this is their 7 demands here. They're listed. 1, they want the resignation of Annette Among as the Speaker of Uganda's Parliament. She's been embroiled in corruption, and that is why they want her to go. 2, resignation of the 4 backbench commissioners, right? And their faces are listed. They're shown here. Resignation of the 4 backbench commissioners. We have also 3, reducing the number of members of Parliament. That is also on the list. 4, the members of Parliament involved in any corruption scandal should resign as investigations go on. Auditing the lifestyle of all the members of Parliament and publicizing it. That is what they're demanding. Also cutting salaries and allowances of all members of Parliament to 3 million shillings and allowing Ugandans to continuously exercise their democratic right to peacefully assemble without blockage. Those are some of the demands from the Gen Zs in Uganda as they go to the streets today and demonstrate and seek for their rights as well. All right, let's cross over now but still, we can go on and look at some of our news there. Girl with hearing and speech loss shine at Little Beauty Crown Contest. That is also inside the publication today. Let's cross off to Tanzania. We see what they have. CCM power play on display in Makamba Nape removal. Right, the president, that is President Samia Suluhu Hassan's decision to drop Mr. January Makamba and Mr. Nape Nayue from the cabinet has laid bare power playing politics within the ruling CCM as the 2025 general election draws closer, according to party insiders. You can follow the story on page 2 of the publication today. Jerry Sila, he has replaced Mr. Nape. Let me try and zoom in. You can see his face here. This is Jerry Sila. He has replaced Mr. Nape Naue as Information, Communication and IT Minister, while Mr. Mahmoud the Beat Combo has been appointed Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation Minister, succeeding Mr. January Makamba. You can follow the story inside the publication today. And what next after Biden drops out of US rest? That is the problem question hanging on the rafters of many globally, rafters of their mind. That is a story you want to follow inside also the Citizen as well. In Rwanda, Lolo said, Namuritswe. CMA boss outlines plans to transform capital market. There's a positive acceptance of innovation in Rwanda, far much better than many African countries. You can follow the story on page 3. And Kagame can be seen here launching King Faisal Hospital expansion works. President Paul Kagame and Senait Fiseha, the Vice President of International Programs at Susan Thompson Buffett Foundation, officially launching the expansion works for King Faisal Hospital in Kigali on Monday. The works will enable the referral hospital raise its capacity from 157 to almost 600 beds. And all that is tucked away on page 4 of the New Times if you're waking up in Rwanda. And $45 million milk powder factory set to be launched. And Azabitsanda Kagame, singer on her presidential campaign hit. You can follow all that inside the New Times. The East Africa this week, Uganda fuel still most costly in the region. That is what is headlining the front page of the East African. And it says higher logistics and pipeline costs have negated the impact of lower premiums that UNOC got from Vital Bahrain. You can follow the story inside the East African on page 4. And President Paul Kagame, it is the incumbent Rwandan leader, garnered 99.15% actually of the votes cast, earning him a fresh 5-year term that analysts say allow him to cement his legacy of a prosperous country. That is the story you want to follow on page 12 of the publication today. Ruto's fresh headache on cabinet choices. He selected 11 members, promising to form a broad-based government in the face of protest. You have the story on page 12. Why DRC is careful around Uganda. According to UNHCR, Kampala hosts about 500,000 Congolese refugees. You can follow the story on page 3 of the publication this morning. All right, The Economist, a ticket to nowhere. That is what The Economist is holding for us this morning. You can see President Trump there with his, or that is the former President Donald Trump, and his Deputy President nominee, J.D. Vance as well. A ticket to where, they ask, not to nowhere. A ticket to where? That's a probing question. At the bull market's blind spot, Gaza's grim post-war prospects. Will H5N1 avian flu cause a pandemic? Another probing question there. Schools brief, a primer on AI. And the week on the edge is a splash. Can Nigeria fulfill its promise, or will it fall into chaos? That is a story you can follow inside the Newsweek as well. The latest publication, South Korea's Cultural Revolution as well, is inside the publication to get all the wiser about all this. I shall show you later what we have on the China Daily, and also the week, the US publication and the UK publication as well. But these are your dailies. Allow me to also unveil the faces of our panelists already here in studio who will take us through, of course, the conversation this morning, being a very pivotal day in terms of the politics of the day as far as the protest is concerned as well. The Gen Zs, given their ultimatum, and they're out today. They will be coming out in force. JKIA will be affected. You are advised that you should be there early due to the heightened security and, of course, the bureaucracy of protocols as well that you need to follow. And the hotspots are given as well, just to remind you that Mulolongo, Nairobi Expressway, that is bound to be affected today. Parliament buildings as well, that will be affected. Nyayo Stadium, Uhuru Park, JKIA entrances and terminals, City Cabanas, Outer Ring Road, North Airport Road. Mulolongo, Nairobi Expressway, Parliament buildings, Nyayo Stadium, Uhuru Park, JKIA entrances and terminals, City Cabanas, Outer Ring Road, North Airport Road as well. Those are some of the areas that are listed as hotspots here in Nairobi. And also remember, we have 15, that is the number of counties that are set to experience turbulence from the political protest today. And we'll have our reporters on the ground to give you a blow-by-blow, wire-to-wire coverage of this today. And yes, as we continue, I just want to introduce, we shall hear their voices, see their faces later. This is the Senator of Nyamira. We have with us Okongo Mogany. We have also with us Dr. James Jikal from Semen. We're joined by Tabitha Mutinda, who's a nominated senator, and Dan Maz as well, the Senator of Makueni. Dr. Jikal, good morning. Good to see you.
Morning, Dubai.
People of Semen, what are they saying?
They are fine. Like all Kenyans, they are worried of how things are going, where the country is going. And other than that, they are actually fine. So the main concern is, where are we going?
Where are we going?
Yes.
That's a question. Where are we going? Let's hear from Senator Okongo Mogany.
Yes, morning, Debal.
Today is serious business. You're donning your suit, but it's not a resumption of a Senate, it's a resumption of a National Assembly.
Yes, as we have been on, I think it's National Assembly members who resumed today. As we didn't break after the visit by the Gen Zs, we have been on. But yes, the people of Nyamira are fine. Just waiting to see how the National Assembly will deal with the nominations of CSs. I think that they are tough.
Yes.
So we are waiting with expectation to see how they are going to handle it. Because it's received a lot of mixed reactions from Kenyans. So I think the House on the spot is our neighbors across National Assembly. So we are waiting to see how they are going to handle it. You know, this is in other countries where Parliament has, or a House, as that mandate of vetting is normally very serious business. If you visit countries like US, Debal, we have heard about, since they got their independence, the Senate has vetted 116 nominees to the Supreme Court of United States of America. Out of the 116, the Senate has been able to reject 37 of those nominees. So it should never be like any nomination from the executive should be for the National Assembly to tick the boxes.
Yes.
It should not always be that they must go by the choice of the executive. Vetting of these nominees is normally serious business, including, if you study the history of the US, they will even look at the position you took on certain decisions that were either made by the executive or when there was a piece of legislation that came to the floor. What stand did you as a citizen of America take on that issue? I recall, I think during the reign of President Reagan, he nominated a judge who was called, I think if I've not forgotten, I think he was called Robert Bock. But that same guy had opposed the passage in 1964 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. You know, the act that was being enacted after the protests that were led by Martin Luther King. And his nomination was rejected by the Senate because they said your pronouncements don't promote the civil liberties that Americans value and hold dear. And his nomination was rejected. There's even one whose nomination was rejected because he used to take marijuana. I think it was called cartridge. And the Senate said, we have looked at your history and we confirm that you have confessed to be somebody who takes marijuana. And we said, and the House, the Senate said, his nomination will not bring honor to the office of a judge of the Supreme Court. So I think there are a number of factors that we hope our friend Nyikala and others will look to in detail. We have Chapter 6 of our Constitution. Debal, we have the Leadership and Integrity Act. The whole of Section 13 of Leadership and Integrity Act gives, parameters that should be met by somebody who intends to occupy that prestigious post of CS. It is, in my recollection, from the date we enacted the 2010 Constitution, I don't think any nominee from the executive has been rejected by the National Assembly. In fact, the last one was almost a debacle. We had people facing serious criminal charges in our courts of law, but who were vetted and approved by the National Assembly. And Debal, if you have been listening, you know, we have brought the Parliament of Kenya to be on the dock. We are now on trial. The calls by Gen Z, if you look at their demand, it includes the dissolution of Parliament. Why are they calling for a dissolution is because we have not exercised our power, the power that has been donated to us in the Constitution, in the best interest of the people of Kenya. More often than not, we are seen like, people who are used by the executive to sanitize decisions that are made by the executive. So this really gives the National Assembly a chance to redeem that house. This is a chance for the National Assembly to redeem themselves. All those 11 nominees should be taken through a process that will make Kenyans to change their attitude about Parliament, the Parliament of Kenya.
Thank you.
So I pray that my good friend Dr.
Nyika
and the other 349 members of National Assembly will do justice to the people of Kenya. There are times when you can tell the president this one is returned to sender. There's nothing wrong. Nobody will kill a member of Parliament if you say no to an appointee of the executive. As I've told you, in the US, there are times when a name is sent back and the president is told, renominate again.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's hear from Dan Mazu. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Tabitha Mutinda as well. Thank you for joining us today. All right, you're a lone wolf today. You know why you're a lone wolf today? Yeah, we had Makali also was our lone wolf yesterday. Yeah, most of you also have bugbears and fears and trepidation regarding appearance. Since now we had tutakusalimia. People don't want to be tusalimiwa anymore. But let's just hear from Dan Mazu.
Yeah, today the National Assembly comes back after a short break, and mainly the break was because Parliament, the buildings of Parliament had largely been destroyed by the youths, and therefore the place could not accommodate both Senate and National Assembly. But now renovation has taken place, and there's very important business.
Taking place.
Yes, there's very important business to deal with the nominations which have been proposed. People go into cabinet, and others having been removed. Most important is the information which will come from the people of Kenya in terms of affidavits, fiscal evidence that so-and-so is not fit, and so-and-so is fit to hold office. Although cabinet had been dissolved, the bigger problem was the principal secretaries, who are 41 in number. Yet the ministries are only, 22. And in fact, principal secretaries can handle, you don't need so many principal secretaries. You can squeeze them and they can handle, it's just an accounting officer of a ministry. So you don't have to have an accounting officer of a department. So I think the bigger problem have been the permanent secretaries. In fact, from the way some of them have been appearing before Parliament, you can see some level of incompetence. And quite a number of them are the ones who handle the wealth of the nation, and they're the ones who account. Therefore, that's where we should have started before even we went to the cabinet secretary. But now that we have already started with the cabinet secretary, we look for action against the principal secretaries. I think that's where the biggest job is. They should be vetted afresh, and we should see rearrangement of government to be able to save monies for the country. There's a lot of wastage in government, and all that can go through principal secretaries. So we need also to see a regional balance. We need to see the youth involved. We have quite a number of talented and well-educated youth in the country, and it is really a defining moment for the nation. We want to see those who have done atrocities to the nation. We want to see those who have stolen from the nation. Just wondering how National Assembly will vet suspected criminals. Somebody has already looted from government coffers. They are suspects, they are under investigation. Although they have not been convicted, and it takes a long while for anyone to be convicted with economic crimes, because even if you are convicted by a magistrate, you have a right of appeal to High Court, and you have a right of appeal to Court of Appeal. And if there are constitutional issues, you can still go to the Supreme Court. So it's a long process. But the moment you are a suspect, the moment the nation views you and you are known to have amassed wealth you cannot account, then you should be brought to book by the National Assembly. We hope we will not see collusion. We will not see what we have seen before.
Thank you.
Somebody who is tainted and there is overwhelming evidence be cleared by the National Assembly to hold office.
All right, Tabitha, good morning.
Good morning, Dibal.
Yes.
Yes.
At least I had also bugbears and fears if you'll show up today.
Why? No.
Being a Mombasa Road, that also will be affected. I wondered, hey, maybe I could get a text in the morning, like, after considering.
Actually,
yeah.
By now you should know that I'm a person of integrity. I'm a person who keeps her word, and I honor, you know, in part because I respect your role as well. Unless it's very critical, then definitely I would communicate. But because nothing hindered me being here, I've made efforts, and I'm happy to be here this morning.
Good to see you.
Thank you so much. Let me start by saying, yes, it's true. Today, we are, our colleagues from the National Assembly will be coming back from recess. And I know they will also have a feel of still what we had in terms of, you know, looking at the environment, the whole space in terms of really what transpired, because it was very sad. It was a dark moment. Renovations are still ongoing, very slowly, actually. But of course, as we've always mentioned as leaders, we didn't go to Parliament to, you know, prioritize the dining area. Work is still continuing. We've been doing our committees. I've also seen a few members who have also been conducting their committees, but also National Assembly, because this is a working recess. It has been a working recess. But critically, what is important is their comeback. Comeback on two critical issues. One is on the memo from the President on rejection of the finance bill. Definitely they have to adapt and vote on the same. And also what is critical is the cabinet vetting for the 11 nominees.
Also the county revenue allocation. There's an issue around it as well?
There's an issue on CARA. But before you go to CARA, you have to start with DORA. And actually, where I sit as the Vice Chair of Finance and Budget, we've received the memo from Treasury on DORA amendment, because the counties definitely will be affected, or they were affected after rejection. You remember we had passed, after mediation, both National Assembly and Senate, we passed 400 billion for the counties. But with this rejection, then we have to look at the amendments. We don't know how the outcome will be, but as a committee, we'll do our part. If it will require still a further mediation, then that room will definitely be created. So it's going to be a very busy session, both houses, both Senate, both National Assembly. It's going to be quite very busy. I wanted to still talk about the cabinet, the 11 nominees, and I want to echo
But before you even go to the cabinet, you can see a very interesting headline there with the 30 billion shillings county cash crunch that we do have, the crisis there that has not been released. If you look at the Daily Nation,
yes.
I know that will interest you as a senator as well, and given your docket, we have a total of 35 counties that have not received more than 500 million shillings each. Looking at the flag.
Actually, Dibala, this is an issue that we were discussing last week in the committee, looking at where we are with the issue of CARA. Because with where we are, we cannot amend CARA without amending DORA. And so it will definitely affect counties. So at this point is where counties now will now use the vote. And be able to use.
So this is not the doing of the Treasury. Is it doing of the regulation that has not in place?
It is still Dibal. It is still doing of the Treasury. Treasury has failed to remit the funds on time. Okay. This has affected actually the county budgets process and the planning. And we also discussed and agreed to summon the the PS Treasury to be able to explain why these delays are there, because with also the delay that we are currently having of Kara and Dora, then this crisis should be sorted. Their monies should be dispersed and dispersed as early as last week. This should have been dispersed. This is an issue that we've raised as a Committee of Finance in Senate, and it's something that we've written to the Minister, to Treasury, to be able to fasten this particular disbursement for the counties. Otherwise, then there's going to be crisis within the counties. But still, you realize that we also emphasize on what we call the on-source revenue for the counties, so that in such events where there are some delays, they're not in so much constraint. So but this is an issue that we've highlighted, and we are asking Treasury ensure you disperse these particular balances for the counties that are remaining. But because of the delay of now DORA, which is of course in place because it has to undergo amendments again, counties can be able to use the 50% as in the PFM Act through a vote of account, and that can be done. Dibala was talking about also the vetting, and I wanted to emphasize on something, that at this particular point, it will be prudent, it will be wise for stakeholders, for any person to be able to write to Parliament, raising concerns of any particular nominee. This is the best time for people to come out and be able to state issues that they feel are not fit for that particular candidate. But what are we looking at as leaders, as Kenyans? We are looking at the integrity. Key also is the experience of that particular nominee. Apart from the experience, is also a result-oriented nominee, a result-oriented cabinet secretary who will understand that this is what needs to be achieved, this is where we are, and how do we achieve. When I look at the Gen Z, what they really brought about was in terms of creating more opportunities, and these opportunities can be created through the same ministries. But if we have some personnel who's not experienced, who's not having the integrity to focus on achieving those goals, we will stick to the same quagmire, which is very discouraging. But I hope and pray that we'll have an executive that is up to standard, that is also will be knowing where we are coming from, where we are, and where we want to go and achieve. Thumbs up to the PSs who've held office firmly. We've not had issues. And I believe that even having seen where we are, they've tried, because I've seen quite a number of them really coming out, responding to committees and trying to do what they can. And we've not seen so much of the issues that have been there. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, we shall be looking, of course, to some of those salient issues that have been raised so far. But let's see how the stories also panned out and how today will be, where President William Ruto will be tested yet again today. That is Tuesday, July 23rd, when protesters take to the streets despite his warning of possible dire consequences. The fresh round of protest has been fueled by the president's intention to reappoint 6 former cabinet secretaries to his new cabinet, against the expectation of many Kenyans who want a complete overhaul of the current administration. In Nairobi, protesters plan to occupy critical infrastructure such as the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, while moving away from Central Business District, as was the case with previous protests. Here is that report prepared by our reporter Dennis Omodi. All right, it seems we have some technical challenges with the audio there, so you can see the pictures without the audio, but we'll sort that out and, of course, proceed with the story. But I just wanted to get a sense and feeling also of a panelist today regarding this particular process. We've heard from the president, Dr. Nyikal, saying that now he's not going to tolerate the demos anymore, and is giving a stern warning to the Gen Zs, because you've had him looking very flustered and distressed by what is really happening, and speaking with much gusto, so to speak, on this particular regard. So today, from your own assessment and the reaction of the president, what did you deduce?
Before we get to that, let me also have a chip on the issue of the nominations that are going to face Parliament when we open from today. Well, it's actually what we are going to see in Parliament now. What is being tested is not just our ability to vet, but actually whether we understand our role as members of Parliament,
yes,
and the role of Parliament in the management of the country as one of the three arms of government. And I think what had happened earlier demonstrated very clearly what is in the Constitution, that we are agents of the people. Parliament is an agent, of the people, and that the power that is given to Parliament belongs to the people, and that if we, as members of Parliament, don't exercise it in accordance with the wishes of the people, the people can come up and actually assess, take it up, and the process may actually be nasty, which means we will have failed the people. And I think that is the first thing we really have to look at. The other element that goes with that is we have to realize that even though we are members of Parliament, we belong to parties, we may belong to the coalition of the party that is ruling, we belong to strong coalitions, we still hold individual responsibilities as members. And therefore, we must realize we cannot say that we were directed. The people do not accept that at all. They expect that we will look at it, and to give me the impression that the people say we have elected the president, but we have also elected you, and as the Constitution says, you oversight him. We have given authority, but we need people who will actually guide him, and you are our voices. I think those are the things that when we go back to this Parliament, when we are starting this session, must go through our mind. What is our role? How do we relate to the people? How do we relate to our parties? How do we relate to the presidency? In this system we have, actually it shouldn't matter very much whether we are in the coalition that is ruling. Our bigger role is actually to oversight the government. I think that has come very clearly to us. Also, we must realize that what is the public view? What do people want? People can't keep telling, we don't want this, we don't want this, and as a Parliament, you proceed to pass that one. That is violation of that basic tenets of representation. And then, of course, we'll have what will be the integrity of the person. I myself find that integrity actually seems to have more value than actually technical competence. So I think the integrity of the person, their past history, as Senator Weni was saying, how have they been before? Those are extremely important. And then their technical competence. But most important now is what is the feeling of the public. I think we are now more concerned with the view of the public on and about Parliament. As we are coming, the public have actually indicated what they don't like, and what the question that you have actually put is what the president says relates to what is going to happen. People didn't want these cabinet secretaries. The president ceded and removed them. Now they come back and 6 of them have not been removed. So it, in the eyes of the public, it's releging already.
We'll dedicate more time to it.
Yeah.
We'll dedicate more time to it.
Yeah. But now, as to the demonstrations today, going by what we have seen before.
Let me just interrupt you so that at least, because my audio is back, we can actually go back to that particular story. We've got a whole well of time to discuss that as well, much later in the course of the program. But as I mentioned earlier, President William Ruto will be tested yet again today when protesters take to the streets despite his warning of possible dire consequences. The fresh round of protest has been fueled by the president's intention to reappoint 6 former cabinet secretaries to his new cabinet against the expectation of many Kenyans who want a complete overhaul of the current administration. In Nairobi, protesters plan to occupy critical infrastructure such as Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, while moving away from the central business district, as was the case with previous protests. We have Dennis Omondi starting us off.
The protests, which began as a popular stand against the punitive 2024 finance bill, have morphed into anti-government demonstrations, with the latest one planned for Tuesday to, among other things, oppose reappointment of Kithure Kindiki, Aden Duale, Alice Wahome, Soipan Tuya, Davis Chirchir and Rebecca Miano to the new cabinet. However, the protesters may face the force of the government after President William Ruto vowed on Sunday to end the protests, blaming them for breeding anarchy as the country pays an enormous economic price.
They cannot continue to be anonymous. Let them step forward and tell us, what is this violence going to achieve in the Republic of Kenya, and what is their plan beyond this violence?
Amid the lamentations by the president, proponents of the Tuesday protests are unrelenting, resorting to using their social spaces to strategize, as they have done since Tuesday, June 18th, when the first protests took place. In Nairobi, some proponents of the protests are pushing for a shutdown of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, East Africa's premier aviation hub, to further draw the attention of the international community to the recent events in the country, while piling economic pressure on the government.
Kulingana na KRA, tayari tumeweza kupoteza shilingi bilioni 6 kutokana na maandamano haya, na hiyo inamaanisha kwamba tukiendelea kufanya hivi, hata kazi za watu zitaharibika na vijana wetu hawataweza kupata ajira ipasavyo.
Protest planners aim to block any entry and exit to the airport by occupying major link roads, including Mombasa Road, Expressway at the Mlolongo exit, Outer Ring Road and Airport Road. Gen Z protesters have remained steadfast in their demand for governance reforms, including dissolution of the cabinet, parliament and resignation of the president, rationalization of taxes, reinstatement of popular social protection programs, employment of JSS teachers and medical interns, among others. The protests have, however, drawn condemnation from Kenya Kwanza leaders.
Some elements, especially in the politics and civil society sector, have joined the chaos to fund a very nefarious and crooked agenda, and they have been very loud, clear and categorical that their aim is a change of government through unconstitutional, illegal and forceful means.
Dennis Omondi reporting for KTN News in Nairobi.
Now the National Assembly is set to resume today its sittings. This is after they went on a 3-week recess, a day after Kenyans invaded Parliament building, just hours after they passed the controversial Finance Bill 2024. According to the Speaker, Moses Wetangula, the House will be notified of the President's decision not to assent to the bill and to reverting it to Parliament with a memorandum. And as Jeff Kirui now reports, the National Assembly is also awaiting the President's communication to kickstart the vetting exercise of all Cabinet Secretaries' nominees.
The National Assembly on Tuesday will be back after 3 weeks of recess, occasioned by the invasion of the August House on 25th of June in protest over the Finance Bill 2024, leaving a trail of destruction within the precincts of Parliament.
The damage caused, as assessed by our insurer, was about 94 million Kenya shillings. That's the damage we suffered. We had insurance cover, so the insurance is taking steps. Work has started.
During the Tuesday sitting, Speaker Moses Wetangula will notify members of the decision by President William Ruto to decline to sign the Finance Bill 2024 and reverting it to Parliament with memorandum, recommending that MPs delete all the clauses. This setting stage for any member who would wish to revive the bill.
Remember that under our standing orders, when the President sends a memorandum of that nature, any member who wants to overturn that memorandum or any provision therein must garner 2/3 of the members of the House. That's about 233 or thereabouts of members.
With the recommendations by the President to delete all the clauses, Speaker Moses Wetangula dismissed any possibility of the bill being enacted following concerns under Article 115 of the Constitution that if the President does not assent to the bill or refer it back within 14 days, the bill shall be taken to have been assented to on expiry of the period.
That is not true, and we have no provision in law or under the Constitution for that. The bill is in limbo, is in purgatory, so to speak, awaiting the next vote on it.
The Speaker is also expected to receive communication from the Office of the President regarding the nomination of members of the Cabinet, all of whom Parliament will have to vet, approve or reject their nomination.
The moment the President, as the head of the executive and head of government and head of state, pronounced himself that he had dismissed the cabinet, there ceases to be a cabinet. So these appointments are seen as fresh appointments, and they start from where they started when they were first appointed.
The reconstitution of IEBC is also among issues to be canvassed, as Parliamentary Service Commission is expected to submit its 2 representatives to the IEBC selection panel after President William Ruto assented to the IEBC Amendment Act of 2023.
By the close of the week, we should have the selection panel list ready to be sent to the President to appoint a chairman out of them, and the rest be gazetted not later than Tuesday next week to start their work.
Reconstitution of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC was among the issues at the center of protest in the country. IEBC has been without commissioners since January last year. Jeff Kirui, KTN News.
Now, people living with disabilities have called on the police to stop using excessive force and tear gas on youths protesting peacefully. According to them, using excessive force by the police affects not only the youth, but also those living with disabilities. They have also asked President William Ruto to consider and not to discriminate people living with disabilities in the new cabinet.
This one. Yes, because it's the same. So, he did the
okay.
Sorry, it's okay. I don't know
We recognize the constitutional right to peacefully protest. However, we strongly condemn the violence witnessed during the ongoing protest, which has disrupted normal life and exacerbated challenges faced by all citizens, particularly persons with disabilities.
We are kindly requesting our president that as he thinks of reconstituting his cabinet secretaries, his government, his executive, he can look far and wide and consider having persons with disabilities as members of his cabinet.
Persons with disabilities since time memorial have not been part of the IBC Commission. So it is our call today that the incoming commission members, there must be a person with disability. Yes. Yes. Nothing about us. Without us. Nothing about us.
Without us.
Now, confronted with continental assignment aspirations, immersed in local politics, and the difficult decision of working with the Kenya Kwanza government now presents opposition chief Raila Odinga a major headache. The ODM Supremo rarely encounters dissent within his orange party, but the broad-based government proposal has evidently triggered a storm in the party he leads, with his key allies openly disagreeing with him. Alan Ochanda reports.
That one day is long in politics has been given credence by the recent developments in the ODM party. Leaders openly registering their dissatisfaction with the party boss Raila Odinga's stand on the proposed broad-based government. The party's NEC meeting held last week failed to arrive at a consensus. Key Odinga allies like Embakasi MP Babu Owino vehemently opposing such plans like working with the Kenya Kwanza government. The contradicting stance threatening to trigger rifts in the party.
And I want to say those who are in a rush to join Ruto, that Ruto is a passing cloud. I am saying that without a fear of contradiction. I'm urging everybody that joining Ruto is a disaster, is an abomination. It cannot work.
I am in total disagreement with James Agriole. He's my senior, he's my friend, but where he's wrong, I will tell him you are wrong. You cannot tell us that we cannot dialogue, that we cannot talk with Ruto, we cannot talk as Kenyans. What is the alternative? We cannot play politics of populism. We cannot play politics of theory. We have been playing politics of theory since independence. That is why we have got these things wrong. Where are you taking us? We cannot follow Kalonzo because we don't know where he's going. Personally, as your body, I am saying it here affirmatively. I am not persuaded that Kalonzo is taking us anywhere.
That's just pressure from his people. You know, there are people who survive on Raila's court. And so, a time comes when you have to be yourself and get out of certain enclaves for some reason. You see his back and forth is because he wants to please certain quarters to balance. There's no balancing here. By age and by context and by definition, the best thing for Baba right now, let him go for the AU seat and leave this local politics to other players who still have the energy and the time, to do it.
When Odinga and President William Ruto met last week at KICC, Odinga appeared to openly embrace the idea of creation of a broad-based government. The head of state went ahead and dismissed his cabinet and a week later announced the first batch, hinting at the possibility of the reservation of some cabinet slots for the opposition.
And Baba would want to leave that ODM party in a particular way. But you see, within that party also, there are people who may not agree with him. That's why he's building consensus. In leadership, you have to build consensus. So I think Baba is buying time, trying to build consensus out of the whole mess so that he can leave a legacy. He can leave something that is tangible, something that will help his troops have a bargaining power, even maybe in the next regime. Whoever becomes president, I don't know. But he's very calculative, trying to see where his own party will be in the next regime.
As it boils from inside, pressure is also mounting from the larger Azimio House, with sister parties already vowing not to be part of the broad-based government, as doing so, according to them, amounts to sanitizing the Kenya Kwanza government.
Because the president wants numbers from the ODM side, he is free to get the 108 members of parliament from the ODM side, appoint Joho or appoint Oparanya to the cabinet, but subject to verification by the agencies.
Nyinyi mnamkumbuka wale mlikuwa wakubwa 207. Kalonzo alihepa akabetray Baba na wenzake, akakimbia akaenda akakuwa deputy president wa Kibaki. Si alienda? Alienda ama hakuenda? Sasa ni vibaya Baba akisaidiana na Ruto kweli? Sasa huyu Kalonzo, mtu mwenye anaitwa Kalonzo, mtu mwenye anaitwa Wamalwa, Orengo, Kioni alikuwa running mate wa Musalia, alileta kura ngapi?
Odinga's continental assignment aspirations, according to political observers, largely depend on the goodwill of the government, and as such he has to turn down from his initial bare-knuckle approach. Alan Ochanda, KTN News.
Right, those are intrigues of the politics of the day, of course, as we take a short break right now. As you can see, this is Parliament today, the resumption of Parliament restricted area, Parliament reopening. And you can see the sandbags there and the faces of the legislators. We have a Speaker of the Senate there, Emerson Kingi, with his helmet. Also, Aaron Cheriot seems also to be scoping around and just scoping out and seeing what is happening. Also, the Speaker of the National Assembly as well. Everyone will be keeping their eyes peeled as far as the resumption of Parliament is concerned. Remember, also, we shall just run you by the list of some of the hotspots area, if you've not seen that, much later in the course of the program. We take a short break right now.